Welcome back, everybody. Battlephobe here, aka Gunpla Daily. This is the follow-up video for the test model, the Warlord Titan that I was painting up for Golden Demon 2024 at Adepticon. In the previous video, I kind of explained how I didn't have a lot of experience with this paint scheme or painting an entire kit yellow. So we did a test kit first before we put tons of hours into the current project. By the end of that project, I was glad that I did that because I learned a lot in that process and kind of knocked the cobwebs off of doing bigger project. Mostly I've been working in 32 mil prior to that for several months, so well, several years, but really good idea if you are venturing into unknown territory. So as you see here, I'm doing my priming and base coat on this sort of plywood board, and two reasons doing here: ease of handling, and also making sure that I don't get confused where my shade, midtones, and bright or highlights, or I guess, or brightest light, whatever, should go. So basically, like keeping track of bottom to top, so I don't paint anything upside down. I did do that in the test model, which I don't know if anybody noticed. I mean, it could just look like a stylistic choice, but I definitely had assembled that kit years prior to painting it, so I forgot which way was up and down. So, also shout out to Vince Ventrella. Used a lot of his videos as a resource because I think he's got a good amount of Titan videos on, or not Titans, but just like walkers types from 40k and 30k. He's got a good amount on YouTube, so big inspiration and help just watching his content. This is his idea. That's why I bring that up. The plywood thing, completely his idea, and it's effective. I think like if I ever do, I might even try to do gunpla like this. Just really useful versus the stick cat scratcher method. More viable here because there's less, or more necessary here in 40k because there's less parts to put those clips onto. So I'm using a museum putty also here to stick them to the board, which less of an issue in Gunpla. So here I'm using a contrast paint, whatever the yellow is. One of the yellows, the darker yellow. And this is like my shadow. So we're covering all the panels kind of towards the bottom, and then maybe going about midway up. And I probably should have gone a little bit higher because after the flames went over the top of this, a lot of this is no longer visible. A little bit in between flames, but at the very base, it basically just gets ate up by the black. Also, shout out to everybody that came out to the streams for this. It did take me about 4 months to paint this. I think it was maybe 150 hours. I'd have to double check. But that's what you're seeing in the bottom right. That was my live chat at the moment while I was doing all of the painting, almost entirely on stream. I'd say 95% of the process was live streamed. So if you were a part of that, you'll see yourself in chat, maybe. But really appreciative of everybody who locked in for that 4 months to watch me paint this piece of wood. So here we have all the shading done with the contrast, or at least for my first go around. I do end up coming back and kind of adjusting these colors and redoing some of them. But for the moment, I thought we were done here with the shading. So to move on, I did some more work with the body. We just did a Vallejo metal color airbrush all the way around. I did have to come back and touch up a lot of this, but for the base coat, this was the method we used. In here we're putting copper over, I'm not sure exactly what these are, shield generators. Just as a base coat, just to block in this color. I wasn't really sure what color I wanted to do for these, but I knew it was going to be some kind of like gold or copper based paint. Then here I'm just blocking in the colors. This is going to look like shit because of yellow coverage, but really I was just seeing, I was playing with the idea of whether I wanted to paint that part of the kit yellow or not, and kind of looking for reference material where other people had done that. Didn't find a ton out there. I think even in the studio paint job, they just kept it the same metallic color. Here's me failing at magnetizing my weaponry. Then going through the manual a lot. Did this a lot in the process because I know what the fuck I was doing, man. First time building one of these. I'm not super familiar with 40k. I think I said that in the last video too. I don't really play the game, so very much just hey, cool robot for me. So you'll see me test fitting a lot of stuff, constantly opening the manual and thumbing through it to make sure I didn't assemble anything wrong, which I did do quite often. I think in the beginning of this video, the legs were on backwards. I did at some point end up having to completely rearrange the legs. And then here, you're seeing one of the first of my many mistakes in this process, using this masking fluid, which ended up being more trouble than it was worth. I could have, the metal was easy to clean up, so I should have just, you know, sprayed my yellow, airbrushed my yellow, dealt with the overspray because it was an easy cleanup. The Vallejo metal color goes on really smooth with minimal brush strokes, so in hindsight I should have just dealt with that versus trying to use this masking fluid that was more time to apply and clean up than if you see on the other side I just sprayed. I didn't even make an attempt. There was an experiment, which, you know, you would think you wouldn't experiment when you're painting for competition, but I think that's probably the best time to experiment, right? You might discover something new. But it ended up being more trouble than it was worth. Like once I had got it all on there, I guess it was like very heavy and had slid into other parts of the model. But as you can see, I did decide to paint these parts yellow, where most people kept them just metallic, like the rest of the body. Because I figured, why not? I'll challenge myself. It'll be hard. It'll be tough. It'll be hard to hit those spots and not get too much overspray. But, you know, this is Golden Demon, so I'm going to go for it. I kept forgetting about the guns and especially these shoulder mounted rocket launchers, I guess. I constantly kept forgetting that I also have to match whatever I do on the main bodies yellow to these parts, so you'll always see them kind of last in the assembly line. So here you'll see doing that shading method again with the contrast paint. I should have done this all in one step with the other yellow parts, but again, I was constantly forgetting about these guns and shoulder mounted cannons that needed to have the same effects replicated. So here I'm coming back to readjust these shades. So here I'm coming in with my base coat yellow mixed in with some off-white to represent the parts of the model that are getting hit with more light. It ate up a lot of my midtone or my just regular base yellow that was already down. So I had to readjust how much of that bright yellow I wanted in there, which meant I also had to readjust much of my shade color that got ate up in that process. And at this point, we have everything pretty much where our yellows are like where I want them. They're blocked in. So we work on some more details here. Wasn't really feeling the copper color, so we went back over that. And so here I'm doing all of the metallics that match the frame over the weapons and other parts. And again, this stuff goes on super smooth. So this is probably the metallic probably the easiest, or the metallic base coat probably the easiest part of this project. And that's why I wasn't super worried about overspray with the airbrush, because I knew I could easily go back and clean this up, and there's basically no visible brush strokes. And great coverage. Great consistency, great coverage. Not sponsored, by the way. Just really enjoy this metallic. And here we begin, well, we're kind of midway through it. The part that I was dreading the most for some reason, I don't looking back now, the gold trim actually wasn't that bad. We got through it. It was time consuming. It did take about 4 to 6 hours, I want to say. But wasn't wasn't tough. Wasn't as tough as I thought it would be. Kind of sat down, locked in, got it all done in one sitting. And here we're using Scale 75's gold set, true metallic gold set. It's been out for a while. I couldn't tell you exactly which gold this is because I kind of mixed them up several times just for tonal variation. So with the gold done, we're gonna move on to decals. And damn, what a pain in the ass it was to track these down. Out of stock on GW site, and I bought them from some random hobby store who never shipped them, so I had to get a refund and then find another store. Luckily, last one they had one left, and I was able to order it and get it shipped. But yeah, this was the most expensive piece of little paper I've ever bought. So I'm assuming you guys know how water slide decals work. I'm not gonna. This isn't a tutorial. This was a mistake though, using a shallow. Well, a couple mistakes here. Using a shallow bed of water to get these off of the transfer sheet, but then also these, which I didn't realize were perfect fits for these two pieces. I didn't know it was an exact fit for the decal, so I didn't have to paint those, and yet I did. Also, very hard getting them into the really, because it's like almost perfect fit, means you have to insert it perfectly, which was not easy to do. Well, I mean, I failed at it. I didn't. They did not fit perfectly. And now we're moving on to Agrex Earthshade. This is mistake probably number 2 or 3 for me. This did not turn out well. I was trying to get a thin line over the gold, and it just wasn't the brush control just wasn't there. In hindsight, I should have thinned it more for more control. But you see, I moved on to Tamiya panel liner, which was basically giving me the same effect I was going for. But it's also because it wasn't acrylic based, I could use a more reductive method. So you'll see in spots where the earth shade had got kind of out, like slipped out of my control. But with weathering and with decals and weathering and other things, it wasn't something I was super worried about. But switching to the enamel based Tamiya, I was having a much easier time, and I could just go back and clean up any spots that got out of control. Whereas with the Agrex Earthshade, it kind of was permanent. And this is just me being a scrub here and not realizing these are connection points. So I shaded and I put shadow in them, thinking they would be front facing, and that's actually where you glue them together. So here you'll just see me cleaning up the Tamiya panel liner. So here we have all the pieces base coated, trims done. We started decals. We have all the black lining done / panel lining. And so before we can do weathering, I have to finish the rest of the decals. So because this project actually is a lot more effort than I guess I anticipated, I actually have to split these videos up into 2 parts. So this is going to be part 1. Part 2 will be coming soon. I already have all the footage, just need to edit it. So appreciate y'all watching and look for part 2.